Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Basketball Conference, the ACC Football Podcast. My name's Joey Weaver. He is Mike McDaniel. Mike, first round of the playoff in the books. We got another bowl game in the books. We got more bowl games to talk about. Merry Christmas. How you doing?
Merry Christmas. We're recording the night of the 22nd for those of you listening back on audio. He got 2 in the playoff.
Yep.
Because there are no more.
Yeah, the ACC had a good time in the playoff. It lasted about 8 hours, and both of our teams are out. So, yeah, we got other just bowl games to talk about, and then we're done.
Yeah. Yep. A lot of them.
Yeah.
Still, a lot of them
That's
that are and are not consequential because of who is and who is not playing. So we'll see how that goes.
That's right. Yep. We will get into those here shortly. As mentioned, it is the evening, Sunday, December the 22nd, a few minutes after 11 o'clock on the East Coast. We are live, youtube.com/@the ACC Football Podcast. Got a couple people here in the chat with us so far. Appreciate the folks showing up. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. We would really, really appreciate your help with that. We're still trying to work our way towards 550 subscribers by the end of the season. We're getting close. Appreciate the folks helping us out. Hit that button if you have not already. Mike, as mentioned, we have a couple playoff games to recap. We got another bowl game that's already happened that we're going to go ahead and recap while we're here, and then get into previewing some others. And by the way, we got some news as well that we'll hit on before we get out of here. Do you want to go ahead and start with the recap of our playoff games and other bowl games to date?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do that. We would often do this as a rowback rapid recap segment, and for tonight, sure, yeah, 5 minutes or whatever or nothing. Anyways, let's see. In what's the word? Oh God, Texas 38, Clemson 24.
There it is. Just
spit it out. Texas wins 38-24 over Clemson in the afternoon game yesterday on December the 21st. In a weird way, this was honestly kind of the most competitive of the 4 first-round playoff games. I want to give Clemson credit. Like they made Texas earn it here. This game was a 7-point game at one point in the fourth quarter. Quickly got back out to a 2-touchdown kind of game. But Clemson gave good effort here, and again made Texas earn it. It wasn't easy, but I think what we saw and kind of what we talked about in the preview is like if Texas is clicking on offense and the way that they ran the ball in particular, I was a little surprised that Texas was able to run it as well as they did. But Jaden Blue, Quintravian Wisner, 29 carries for 256 yards and 4 touchdowns. Yeah, I mean that's your whole story, right? Is that Quinn Ewers didn't have to do a whole lot for Texas. It was just their ground game for the Longhorns.
If you told me that Clemson was going to score 24 points and put up over 400 yards of offense, I would have told you that may not be good enough to win the game, but it's going to put them in the neighborhood. And I think the story of this game was that Clemson could not stop Texas's wide zone run, which is like the thing they do really well, and they could not stop it. And we've seen Clemson's rush defense at times this year have some issues, right? Relative to years past, they have the rushing defense this year has been a bit up and down, even though the overall defense I think has been pretty good. It's been up and down against the run. And this is like one of the teams in the bracket that you have to be able to stop the run against, and they just simply couldn't do it. Jaden Blue, 146 yards on 14 carries, that long 77-yard touchdown run came right after Clemson cut it to 7 in the fourth quarter, and looked like if they got a stop that things were going to get interesting because the offense was really starting to click there in the second half. And when you immediately give up a long one, that is an absolute killer.
Yeah.
And if Dabo is serious about this, he would find himself a new defensive coordinator. That's how I feel coming out of this game. He seems like he's going to be serious in the transfer portal because they just got a very good transfer pass rusher out of Purdue, and Dabo is going to start taking guys out of the portal. It's time to get yourself a real defensive coordinator. No offense to Wes Goodwin. It has taken a considerable step back, obviously, since Venables left, which was to be expected. some years it's been really good, other years it has not been good. This year it was very up and down. And in the one game where you needed to stop the run, Texas does one running play really well. They do it to both sides of the field, and you had multiple weeks to prepare, and you could not stop it. When you absolutely needed to stop in this football game, you cut it to 7 in the fourth quarter, and your offense was rolling. When you needed to stop, you could not get it. I think Dabo needs to pull the trigger here on a defensive coordinator. I just think he's got to do it. Klubnik was really good. Like, flat out.
Was good.
He was really good.
This is one of the best performances we've seen from him this year, I would say.
The interception was a batted ball at the line of scrimmage. He was really, really sharp here. He had a couple of high-level, NFL-level throws, 5-star quarterback-level throws in this game, dropping it in the bucket. He had multiple on one drive. Clemson's receivers, and we've talked about this year, Clemson's receivers, the young guys, are really good. They're really good. Back to playoff caliber, 14 playoff caliber, national championship contending Clemson, that level of receiver. The young guys are there for Clemson on the outside. And if Klubnik comes back, this is probably the preseason favorite to win the league next year. And I think justifiably so, because I think if this version of Klubnik, which is what we've seen truthfully for most of this year, it's been this version of Klubnik, if he comes back for his senior year, third year in the Garrett Riley offense, and he continues basically what he did this year, another building block, another year of progressing in this offense and improving, he's going to be maybe the best quarterback in the ACC next year. And Clemson, I think with the talent they have returning, is going to be one of the 5 or 6 best teams in the sport next season. So something to monitor with Klubnik. But yeah, like we said, this was a step forward year for Clemson back. They took a full step back from the national championship level program that they were under Dabo. But this year's version of Clemson was closer to the one that was contending for titles than the one we've seen the last couple of years. And it's obviously not all the way there. They've had some bad losses. They lost to Georgia, they lost to Louisville, they lost to South Carolina. In the finale, they were driving down to win the game. But they looked like they belonged in this game. They fell behind early. They went ahead 7 and then fell behind pretty quickly. Right? They gave up multiple scores on defense because they couldn't stop the run.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, they hung in there, Joey. They hung in there. They started cutting back into the lead. And they looked like if they got one stop there in the fourth quarter, they looked like they were going to have a chance to go down, tie the game. Yeah. So what more can you ask for? You didn't run it well, and you didn't stop the run, and you were right in this football game in the fourth quarter with 10 minutes to go.
Yeah. I think that's, the way that I would probably explain this game was Clemson started with the ball coming out of the opening kickoff, and they went 12 plays, 75 yards, touchdown. It took some effort. It wasn't, chunk play. It was a lot of third down conversions, stringing together 4 yards, 5 yards, 3 yards, like that kind of thing. But they got there and they took a 7-0 lead. And it was like, all right, well, Clemson scores in their first drive, was kind of wondering how much they would score at all in this game, so that's a hell of a start. From there, Texas went 31-3. Basically, it was 31-10 when Texas kicked a field goal coming out of halftime, basically. And I think that just kind of explains Clemson did what they did on the script, and it just had real problems replicating that after that. And when you look at the rest of their possessions in the first half, 3 plays punt, 4 plays punt, 3 plays interception, 3 plays fumble, 7 plays field goal, 3 plays end of half. They could not sustain a drive against this Texas defense. And Texas's defense is real. It is really, really good. And, arguably the best unit in the playoff remaining. It's in that discussion, I think. So no shame to Clemson here. As mentioned, again, you went down 31-10. Texas didn't punt until the third quarter, but then Clemson answers with 2 back-to-back touchdown drives, make it 31-24. They kept playing. And so credit to them for that. I was impressed with Cade Klubnik here. I thought he was good. It just the story was Texas was able to run the ball, I think, better on Clemson's defense than I thought they would be able to be. And Clemson could not run the ball in this game basically whatsoever. And I think that's really the difference in kind of the way that this one turned out.
Yeah, and Dennis 133 called this out too, not having Phil Maffa hurt
Yeah.
a lot here, and I agree, because even when you went down 38-24 in the fourth quarter, you got down into the red zone again to try to cut it to 7, and there was plenty of time left, and you moved it down the field quickly. It took you about 3.5 minutes, and you got yourself inside the 5, right? You were at the 1-yard line, and you could not punch the ball in the end zone. And Texas basically did what they did against Texas A&M. They had a huge goal line stand and really kind of turned the tide of the football game. That's what happened here. Like that sealed up the win for all intents and purposes for Texas here. If you have Phil Maffa, you feel a lot better about your chances of punching the ball in there with, your 220-pound running back. Didn't have that option available to you, and that really hurt. So, yeah, I think that hurt a lot. That situationally, I think there were some opportunities that were missed by Clemson. Thought it was interesting when they cut it to 7. They drew an offside call on Texas, and they were down like at the 2, and they could have gone. It didn't end up mattering. They could have gone for 2 to cut it to a 6-point game, and it's kind of like, you know what you need sort of thing. Like you score a touchdown, you get to stop. You score a touchdown, you could take the lead. And they chose to kick an extra point anyway, which Dabo was catching some heat on social media for that, which, okay.
Yeah.
I could see it, but I think he feels better. Again, I think he feels better about going for it in that spot if Maffa's available. And if you don't have Maffa available, you feel a little bit worse about it, and that kind of came to fruition on the following drive when they got stopped inside the 5-yard line. So it's really hard to run into a teeth of the Texas defense, and this is not the same Texas defensive line that they had a year ago, but it's still really good, and I think that kind of bared out, right? That's kind of how this went. So, admirable effort from Clemson. Ultimately, Texas is really good, and Quinn Ewers in this game was really good. He catches a lot of shit, Joey, when they're not playing well. He catches a lot of flack, and it's because Arch is sitting behind him. That's why I think he gets probably more than he deserves, right? A lot of times in terms of the criticism, but then when he plays well, he's really, really good, and he was really good. I mean, you look at the stat line, I don't think it's reflective of how well he played. The interception, not his fault. Like, the touchdown pass was really good. Completed a really high percentage of his throws.
I think it was Ewers that threw the interception that he hit his receiver in the chest, like between the numbers, and it bounced off and was caught.
Correct.
Because then, as you mentioned, I think Klubnik had the interception that was just like a fluky tip ball situation. Like, both these quarterbacks played well in this game and kind of did what they were asked to do. And I don't mean to take this back over from you, but I do want to reiterate kind of what you said. I do think that Clemson's in position to be, if not the favorite, then certainly within the top 2 to 3 expected favorites in the ACC next year. I mean, I think we've talked about for a couple of years that I think that Clemson has come back down to earth from where they were 5 years ago, and I stand by that. But they are still really good. Arguably, again, in the discussion for best team in the ACC year in and year out, and that has to be reiterated. And I agree with you, by the way, on. I don't know that Clemson's defensive coordinator situation with Wes Goodwin and such is I don't know that it's bad. It's average to good, but there's definitely an opportunity to improve there. And between some of the transfer portal stuff, this is where I think a huge difference in what Clemson is versus what Clemson can be is a matter of, is Dabo willing to take advantage of the things that are available to him? And some of this you can kind of stand on principle and say, well, we don't take transfers and we like guys from inside the program. Well, bringing in Garrett Riley's been good. And maybe bringing in a couple transfers will be good, will help to supplement your roster in ways that you haven't been able to. So again, that's kind of where my head's at is again, there are things that are available to Dabo that he is consciously outwardly denying that if you change your tune on that and decide to try to take advantage of it, maybe it improves the fortune of your program going into next year and beyond.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And we'll see just how far he takes it with the portal, right? Obviously, there are several playoff teams who are still playing that will have guys enter the portal still, and those will be the ones that I think Clemson would be interested in. So just something to keep an eye on. But the fact that Dabo has dipped his toe in the waters of the portal, I think, is showing that he's willing to evolve and change a little bit, which has been the whole story with him. And I think if he's going to do that, I think it makes sense to, again, like you said, Goodwin hasn't been terrible, but he also hasn't been Venables. And I don't think any of us were expecting him to be Venables, but I think that's something that you should aim higher with if you're Clemson, given the history of your defenses on championship caliber rosters, which is where Clemson is trying to get back to.
Yep, 100%. Texas 38, Clemson 24. Texas moves on. They'll play Arizona State in the Fiesta Bowl. Clemson's season is over. We will see them again in the fall.
Yep.
Penn State 38, SMU 10. A game with a 4-touchdown final margin that, truthfully, Mike, I don't think that score totally tells the story of the game. I mean, Kevin Jennings had a really bad day for SMU here, and in particular, threw 2 pick sixes in the first half and 3 interceptions total in the first half. I mean, this was one of those where you can't. SMU could not really dig themselves a hole and feel good about digging themselves out, and they immediately did this. Midway through the second quarter, they're down 2 touchdowns. Their defense hasn't allowed Penn State's offense to do a whole lot of anything, and yet you're down by 2 touchdowns. And that's, again, that was a tough situation. That you look at a game that has a 4-touchdown final margin. I think 24-10 is a much more accurate depiction of what happened here. But again, you got yourself into a massive hole early, and there wasn't really a way that you were going to be able to dig out of it.
Yeah, SMU's defense, I thought, played pretty well here. The issue is that they were on the field a lot in the first half. A lot. Jennings did not play well. Obviously, the 2 pick sixes are a killer. You can't have that. You can't have one of those, let alone 2. But then on top of it, you had the tip ball interception. That's not ideal either. And then you're deep into Penn State territory. You're committing procedural penalties. This is where home field advantage really started to show how impactful it can be in this playoff environment. You're down in the Penn State student section. You have multiple procedural penalties. You have Kevin Jennings take a terrible sack to essentially knock them out of any opportunity to seriously go for it when you're down a bunch and have a real shot at converting. SMU just put themselves behind the 8 ball on offense. It was really unfortunate because obviously we have watched Jennings all year. He is a lot better than this. This was his worst performance, fluky even, and it was a really bad time for that to happen. I think SMU was game here on defense. I agree with you. I don't think 38-10 is really indicative of how well SMU played outside of Kevin Jennings in this football game. And our buddy Rangers King points this out: 37% win probability swing on that pass and the 3 picks.
Yep.
That's courtesy of SP Plus. That really swung the game on literally 4 throws. So it gives you an idea of, okay, SMU probably was not going to win this game, but they were going to play this a lot closer than the final score indicated if you don't throw 2 pick sixes and put yourself in a really big bind. So,
well, and just to be clear, those
3
interceptions really that he threw, at least the 2 pick sixes off the top of my head, those were not fluky tip ball things. That was he overthrew receivers straight into the gut of defenders, and I mean it was having a bad day kind of stuff. Basically, that Kevin Jennings was throwing those passes, and it was like, oh no, This isn't bad luck. This is poor performance. And I don't know how much this had anything to do with it, but like I watched this game on mute. I didn't, I didn't have any of the commentary or anything going. We were doing family Christmas stuff, had Christmas music going in the background, whatever. Every time I looked up and I saw an SMU player on the TV, I was like, that guy looks like he has never been this cold in his life.
Mm-hmm.
They looked miserable in State College yesterday. I get it. It's 25. It snowed that morning. It's probably windy. Like, yeah, it's miserable, but like, I can't act like that didn't play any sort of role here. They looked miserable up there.
Home field advantage, a very big deal in the college football playoff in year one.
Mm-hmm.
A very big deal. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't like overly impressed by anything Penn State did. They just took advantage of SMU's mistakes, which is what they've been doing all year. I mean, Aller took care of the ball. They ran it okay. Penn State, they finished with 40 carries for 189 yards, 3 scores. And a lot of that was game script related. They just ran the hell out of the rock when they got ahead and kept SMU's defense on the field for a while and eventually just grinded it down in the second half. SMU's defense looked exhausted. I mean, they looked exhausted. And, yeah, they were just kind of behind the 8 ball. I thought Brashard Smith played well. Like, the issue is when you get down by that much, you kind of have to go away from him. But, yeah, I mean, he played well as long as SMU could run it. He looked good. Against the Penn State rushing defense overall this year, that's been really good outside of like the Big Ten title game where they just got eviscerated by Oregon's rushing attack, and Ohio State gave him some trouble too. But yeah. So I don't know. I think SMU had a really good year. I don't think this was a situation where they were like totally and completely outclassed. I think Kevin Jennings had his worst game he's had as a college quarterback, and it came at a really bad time. And it wasn't fluky in terms of the interceptions he flew, but it was fluky in terms of him performing like this. Like, he does not he has not played this poorly.
It was uncharacteristic.
And I would love to blame it on the fact that he was going up against a really good defense, but the throws were just like horrific.
Way off target.
Way off target in a way that he hasn't really been that inaccurate all year. It was surprising. Very surprising. So, very tough. Yeah. Tough timing.
I want to say something, and I swear this is not a bit, and I'm also going to try to make as much sense as possible. I think one of the things that you saw here, I think some of this result in this game is related to, I think, the big talking point that we're having nationally about the playoff right now, which is that the biggest problem with this 12-team playoff is the seeding strategy. And the idea that by being one of the top 4 conference champions, therefore you get a bye, and so therefore you now put number 5 Texas, who's realistically the number 3 seed probably, but by default number 5, and now Penn State, probably one of the 4 to 5 best teams. They're the 6th seed. You got these teams that are actually the most elite, some of the most elite in the country that are getting some of these, they're having to play in the first round. And you're playing against an SMU team that I don't think that SMU, and I've said a lot of this year, I don't think that SMU is objectively one of the 10 to 12 best teams in the country. I think you see it in the line play. You just see it at times. And I want to be super clear that when I say that, I am not saying that SMU did not deserve to be in the playoff. They did.
Okay, Kirk Herbstreit. Yeah.
They had a playoff caliber resume. As we said previously, I would have, raised an enormous stink if they had not made the playoff. They deserve to be there. I'm just saying that they were not objectively that level of team, and Penn State definitely is. And Penn State did not struggle in this game for the most. I mean, they struggled to move the ball at times, They did not struggle to contain SMU's offense at all. And that's what I'm saying, is that from a pure quality standpoint, on paper, in the trenches, that kind of thing, I don't think that SMU is that top 6 level team. Penn State definitively is, and that's what you saw here.
But I don't think, right? I don't think that SMU was outclassed in this game in the way. But by the way, Herb Street's catching hell. I understand why. I was critical of him too for the comments he made on game day about Indiana against Notre Dame. And I said, basically, I hope that this is the case. You know, Clemson beats Texas. I hope that he's as critical. And I should have said, if Tennessee gets smoked by Ohio State, I hope he's as critical. But I do think that Indiana was outclassed by Notre Dame. Like, that game was not very competitive.
I see what you're saying.
This game was not competitive because Kevin Jennings had an uncharacteristically bad day. If regular Kevin Jennings shows up, this is like, do I think SMU wins? Probably not. Do I think they're more in the neighborhood of like keeping it within 14? Yeah. Like, do I think it's 24-10 or something like you said, or if it's like 31-17 or something like that? Yeah, I do. Like, it's just kind of a different conversation, right? So
yeah,
I agree that I think Penn State is one of the top 5 or 6 teams in the country. I agree that SMU is probably, you know, you could throw them in the hat of any teams ranked 10 to 15 and throw them all in a hat and pick names out, and I'd be okay with whoever you picked. I think they're in that group. I don't think they were outclassed here, right? Tennessee was outclassed by Ohio State. Indiana was outclassed by Notre Dame. Clemson, I don't think, was outclassed by Texas. I think they were in parts of the game, but I think they battled back in and showed well. I didn't get that feeling here, even though this is a 28-point margin. I didn't feel like SMU, if you play this game 10 times, I don't think they're losing by 4 scores more than once or twice. This was kind of a fluky end result, in my opinion.
Yeah. And to that point, I also want to bring up, and our guy Rangers King mentions this, that talks about some of the drives that stalled in the red zone. I would be remiss if I did not talk about the way that SMU's first drive of the game ended. So they forced a 3-and-out of Penn State. They moved the ball down the field. They've got 4th and 1 from the 19. And I think I fell out of my chair watching this game, or watching this particular play, because I think it was like a fake, like a play action situation.
Boot to the right.
If he had handed it off, they might have gotten it. He still got it. And yeah, Jennings is booting to the right. If he keeps it and just runs it, he's probably got the first down. Instead, he flips it out to, I think, a tight end who was wide ass open.
Who was open?
He kind of throws it behind the tight end. I think he still kind of hits him in the hands, but then a defender shows up at the last second and it turns into an incomplete pass. And it's like, you had 2 or 3 different opportunities to convert that. And again, this is 11 minutes left in the first quarter. Like, this is the beginning of the game, basically. But it's just those, you had moments here where you had a chance to put Penn State in a hole, or, you know, kind of change the game, and weren't able to do it. And again, I think a lot of that, as mentioned, I mean, this is about as bad as we've seen Kevin Jennings this year. And it's a bad day to have a bad day for him.
And Scott just put this in our group chat, and I almost forgot to mention it, so thank you, Scott. Penn State, for James Franklin, big idiot for some reason, goes for it on 4th and 1 from their own 19 before Jennings threw the third interception.
So dumb.
For no reason. You're already up 2 scores, and SMU has spotted you 2 pick sixes. And your offense is struggling to get it going, so I think you're like trying to prove a point that you can pick up a yard against a ACC runner-up, and you couldn't, you didn't, and then Jennings bailed you out again, right? And nobody's really talking about that today, but James Franklin does this stuff. Steve Sarkisian does this stuff where they get too cute and they start running dumb stuff and they make silly decisions, game management stuff that you shouldn't be able to get away with, but you do.
Yeah.
And just something to monitor with Penn State. and I think we're well aware of it with James Franklin. Less people are aware of it with Sarkisian, but this is what they do. They will allow you to remain in the game if you let them, and that was a huge missed opportunity for SMU in this game.
Yep. Yeah, and the only other thing I'll mention, again, the stalled out red zone drives that SMU's first 2 drives out of halftime, both of them, they had plays that they were running from inside the Penn State 10-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them resulted in field goals. One of them resulted in a missed field goal. Missed opportunity, but also on some level, why are we kicking field goals here? Like, you're down 28-3 or 28-0 coming out of halftime. Like, you have to score touchdowns. And so anyways, I mean, tough afternoon for SMU. Again, I'm with you. I don't think that they were outclassed. I think the scoreboard tells a little bit of a different story than what my eyes told me of what I saw on the field. But I mean, SMU made the ACC championship and made the playoff in their first year coming out of the AAC. Like, really, really good year for the Ponies. And
real good year.
Not a lot of reason to think that they can't recreate this next year or get something close. So huge credit to them, that staff, that fan base. I mean, hell of a year for them.
Yeah, top 3 or 4 team in the conference next year on paper before adding any transfers. Like, Jennings will be back, and we think he'll be back. Like, no reason. We'll see what NIL does, I guess. But yeah, I mean, he'll be back. SMU shouldn't have any problem matching what it takes to pay him.
Right.
So this is going to be a very good team next year. They'll continue to get better in the trenches. It was a big point of emphasis for Lashley coming into the move to the ACC. So they'll be a force next year in the league as well.
Yep. Yeah, 100%.
And Rangers King, sorry, one last thing. Jennings made a video, said he's coming back. So, okay, done. They already paid him. They paid him already.
That's a good first step.
Yeah.
Good first step. Penn State 38, SMU 10. We're going to recap the LA Bowl. Can we quickly remind the people that these playoff recaps brought to you by Section103.com, the internet's premier place for all things wonderful Georgia Tech apparel. They have things for men, women, children, babies, something for the whole family. They have T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies. And in fact, Mike, I should probably tell you that Section 103 recently, I told you recently that they had something coming out, and I had some intel, and we found out actually that Section 103 now has a line of hats. And in fact, let me hang on just 1 second here, because
live on the show, we gonna whip this out.
My guy Steven,
the hat, to be clear,
took care of me here.
Joey's gonna miss that. Joey's gonna miss that piece without the You're gonna throw the headphones back on. I made a great joke that you're gonna laugh at post
when I
production.
Listen to the episode.
Yes, great joke. Scott got a chuckle.
There you go.
Nice
super high quality. I mean, this is like a full-on stitched-in logo. The Section 103 tag is on the back. It's a snapback, so it can be adjustable to even fit my enormous head. On the inside of it, it's actually kind of fun. Hey, the seams on the inside of the hat say something like "in case of rally, turn hat backwards," basically. So
nice.
Yeah, fun stuff. They got a lot of these. They had the hat that Brent Key's been wearing all season. They had that in the initial release. Sold out in like 3 hours. So keep it tuned there if you want to see when they get more of those in stock. But section103.com, use promo code GOACC for 20 or 10% off your first order at checkout. Appreciate Steven for his support and for this sweet lid, because be wearing this all through the Christmas break and beyond.
And a very cool order number.
I did get a cool order number.
Yeah. So
Steven knows.
Yeah.
Please.
Hey.
There it is.
That's right.
There it is.
Section103.com, promo code GOACC. The LA Bowl. UNLV, number 24, UNLV 24, Cal 13. A game where, again, Frankie Mendoza did not play. And I think at one point in the fourth quarter, Cal was down to its fourth string quarterback here. CJ Harris played and was fun and was good, and then got knocked the hell out of this game. And it got down to EJ
literally
Kaminong. I mean, okay.
What was that?
Leave that alone. Yeah.
Came it
right?
on? Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe biggest takeaway here. I mean, UNLV is good, and even without the head coach in place and some of the coaching staff changes that they've made, it was fine. Jaden Ott looked about as good as we've seen him this year. He had
Healthy.
some spring in the step.
Healthy. Yeah. Healthy.
Yeah.
For the first time all year, healthy. Right. I
Mhm.
mean, this was the version I think we thought we were going to get. Obviously, we previewed Cal in the preseason. We thought we were going to get Matt Moreno. Shout out to him. We thought that this was going to be the version of Cal that we were going to get in the running game with Ott. And yeah, that was, we were all texting our group chat. We're like, wow, Cal looks like they want to be there. UNLV looks like they want to be there despite the coaching changes, which made for a great pre-Christmas bowl game.
It was fun.
It was great. They were both into it. Wilcox wanted to win it real bad and had all of his starters out there except for Mendoza, of course, who's in the portal. And yeah, I mean, I think the true difference here is that Cal, like they've struggled to do all year consistently, even with Mendoza, they struggle to throw the football here against a good UNLV defense. I want to make that clear. It's not like this was all Cal. UNLV's got a good defense, and they gave Cal some issues here in the passing game. I was surprised by Cal's issues stopping the run here against UNLV.
Yeah.
That was, I think, kind of told the story of the game. It was twofold. The struggles on offense to throw it, which has been a theme this year for Cal. But then in addition to that, having issues stopping the run has not been something that Cal has dealt with all year. And they really had issues in this football game. I thought UNLV really stuck with it. And then the mix of the passing game, obviously with two touchdowns that Malik Williams threw.
Yeah.
That was the difference here. So,
well, and he had about as bad of a passing game as he's had all year. I mean, Malik Williams has been really good for UNLV since what was the guy's name that opted out? Or
doesn't matter.
Yeah, whatever. The whole NIL thing from late September, basically, you'll remember the story there. But yeah, Malik Williams has stepped in since then, and he's been electric. Good in the passing game, good in the run game. And for him to go 5 of 18 passing is kind of stunning. But yeah, as you mentioned, Mike, he had a couple touchdowns in there, so credit to him. But
Sluka,
yeah, I mean, again,
thanks.
yeah,
Matt
this
Sluka.
was Matt Sluka. There you go. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a whole other subplot to the season that's gotten forgotten in 2.5 months here. But yeah, I mean, hey, no shame on Cal losing this game. I realize that UNLV is a Mountain West team, and I mean, at some point that didn't feel great, but they're ranked, and they're ranked for a reason. They have been legit really good, and no shame to Cal. Well, we're talking about UNLV, Mike. Should we talk about the little bit of news concerning UNLV?
Yes.
I think it was before this game, we knew that they had hired Dan Mullen as their permanent head coach. Someone that when Georgia Tech was on their coaching search, I had been kind of promoting the idea of hiring Dan Mullen full-time. But more importantly to the ACC, Anthony Calandria of Virginia had gone into the portal. He is now heading to Las Vegas to be one of the Rebels next year.
There are worse spots to end up as a quarterback. You and I were talking about that before we hit record. That is a very good landing spot for Calandria.
What a culture shift from Charlottesville to Vegas.
I'll say. Yeah, I'll say.
Have any big casino hotels in Charlottesville or like?
No.
Never been. I wouldn't know.
And Des 133. Las Vegas is the perfect place for the gambler in Calandria. That's right on the nose, isn't it? Right on the nose.
Nailed it.
Yeah,
Nailed it.
that's funny.
Well
Oh,
done.
Go ACC moment of the week from this bowl game. ESPN for promoting the bowl game with Freddie Mendoza, who didn't play.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Pretty bad look. And then, like, nobody really correcting it either. They're just like, let that sit. I'm like, oh, okay. We're just going to let that go, huh? The announcer's not going to say anything about it. Okay.
We were watching one of the playoff games yesterday, and the ACC commercial that just runs on whatever game came up for 30, 45 seconds, and it's, oh, a player from Syracuse, a player from NC State, a player from Wake, a player from Virginia Tech, like it's just going through all these different players from all the different teams. And I looked at my dad, I was like, how many of those players do you think are in the portal right now?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
that's where we're at. But anyways, yeah, this is a fun bowl game, and I'm sorry that Cal lost, but you played well and entertained us. And again, you were starting your third string quarterback, and he got hurt and had to be replaced. So, it happens. It's fine.
Yeah.
Played hard. We had fun. We'll see you next year.
One more note. Calandria starts for UNLV.
Ooh.
They play Mendenhall in Vegas. Of course, Bronco Mendenhall took the Utah State job.
Yeah, but
So
did he play for Bronco?
So I'm trying to, maybe Bronco recruited him, but
yeah,
I don't know that he ever would have played for Bronco, even like in a practice situation or anything. I think he's only ever been there under Elliott. I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. The answer is no. Little ACC crossover though.
There you go. That's right. UNLV 24, Cal 13 in the Art of Sport LA Bowl. That's all I got on recaps. Should we preview a handful of bowl games and see what happens there?
Yeah, I'm not going to have many thoughts on any of these just because a lot of players are opting out. But, we'll fire from it.
Yeah, such is life these days with bowl games. Let's start Thursday, December the 26th. You have woken up from your Christmas Day hangover, and we're moving on in the world. And at 2 o'clock on ESPN, it is the GameAbove Sports Bowl from Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. The Pitt Panthers taking on the Toledo Rockets. Mike, do you have $3?
Do I have $3? That's what it takes to get into this football game. I'm going to
That
guess.
would get you admission to the GameAbove Sports Bowl.
Excellent.
Yeah, Pitt's a 6.5 point favorite here. Totals 51.5. I am torn here because I want to go with Pitt here. I want to fade the MAC in bowl games just in general as a general principle, but Toledo does seem like the one MAC team that is actually kind of live in some of these bowl games. So at your own risk, if you're going to do that.
Yeah, at your own risk is right. I'll just lay in with Pitt.
Yeah, why not?
I'll just lay in with Pitt. Why not is right. I think 7-5 Pitt over 7-5 Toledo seems like a good proposition. I don't know who's going to be playing. Right. The one thing I do know is that Desmond Reed is returning for Pittsburgh, and he was just named an All-American, all-purpose player. So it's good they're getting him back. You're going to get healthy Eli Holstein here. We'll find out, right? Was real banged up throughout the entire month of November, right?
Who knows? Yeah.
So,
Nuke Jacket notes Georgia Tech legend Tucker Gleason starting for the Rockets. Yeah, he...
Yeah.
Was one point the backup to Jeff Sims, if that tells you anything about Tucker Gleason. But
yeah, man, that Jeff Sims, that was a career that went to die. My God,
man, what a time to be alive!
A disaster. I miss when this was the Quick Lane Bowl.
Yeah. Do we know what GameAbove is? Is this like an esports league or like what is this?
I wish I knew.
We're gonna look this up. This is important. All right, GameAbove.com. GameAbove is a successful, multifaceted brand that includes charitable giving, capital investment, sports entertainment, and media ventures. Mike, if I gave you 25 words, could you say? Yeah, could you say less than that if I paid you to?
They're a company that does things in the year 2024. Let's move on.
What is that?
Yep. Scott, there's no way in hell that you're prepared for this in terms of a banner, but we're going to take a quick venture from the ACC. Play the Falcon sound, baby.
Uh-oh.
We have another game on Thursday, December 26th. Arkansas State taking on Bowling Green in the 68 Ventures Bowl. Yes.
Bowling Green better be
68
favored
Ventures
there.
Bowl. That's one number away from something really special and really nice.
Hey.
68 Ventures Bowl. Give me Bowling Green, baby. Lay 'em.
Mike, do you have $3? That's not enough to get you into this game.
That's pretty sick that it costs you $9 to get into this one, Joey. $6 more than it would take to get you into an ACC bowl game. So
That's right. That's right.
where's this even being played? Mobile, Alabama, home of the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, this is super South Alabama. You're like an hour from Destin at this point, so
You are.
hell yeah.
Yeah, you are. You are. Yeah, you start seeing signs as you're cruising towards Pensacola. Back to the ACC games.
Go to McGuire's Irish Pub if you're going to this game, by the way.
Oh, baby. I have a T-shirt from there.
Hell yeah.
Let's go.
Yep. All right, so we're both on Pitt and Bowling Green.
I guess so. Pitt and Bowling Green.
Why not? All right. No thoughts on totals. Just forget it. Good to move on to the 27th.
Let's do it.
3:30 on ESPN. My Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets taking on the Vanderbilt Commodores as the Birmingham Bowl from Protective Stadium. Interesting. In Birmingham, Alabama. Georgia Tech a 3-point favorite in this game. Totals 51.5. I don't have any reason not to lay the points with Georgia Tech here, so I guess just do it. But I will say this does project to be one of the more fun, like, competitive games of bowl season. Like, I think both of these coaches are going to have the teams playing hard, and it's going to be an entertaining Friday afternoon situation. So if you're like directly trying to tune into some of these games, this is a good one to fire up and just watch for the entertainment value.
Protective Stadium. Always wear protective. That's what I say.
That's right.
The reason why you don't land with Georgia Tech is because one reason and one reason only, Joey. Are you ready?
Diego Pavia.
That's why. I will I will land with Georgia Tech, but I will sprinkle a little Vandy money line if you're going to gamble on non-playoff bowl games, which is some sick stuff.
This feels like it should be a pick'em, honestly.
It does. Yeah, it does. It does. But yes, both teams should be invested. Both teams should be invested here, to your point. I
don't know if I'm allowed to call Diego Pavia the thing that he was referred to. I think Ricky called him in the group chat the other day. It's not the most sensitive name I've ever heard.
Thank you, Scott.
So I won't. But yeah, if nothing else, this should be a really fun game. I think both of these teams, both of these coaches are going to have these teams playing hard. Not that there's like really anything at stake other than pride and I don't know, maybe like some weird looking trophy or something. But like, I think just this is two teams that are going to put effort forth.
Yeah,
Mike, do you have $3 on you?
I do.
Well, that's nowhere near enough to get into this game because $65 is the entry. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think part of this being like proximity for both of these teams, like I think you're gonna have a pretty decent contingent from both teams there. So should be a fun one.
I forgot what Ricky called them. I went scrolling back in the messages. You're right. We cannot announce that on this podcast.
I don't think we can say that. Yeah, I don't think we can.
Okay. Well,
we good?
We're good.
Scott, do you have a producer's pick of the week on anything this week, by the way?
You son of a bitch. I was just looking at the board and I was like, am I gonna pick something? And I have something. If we're talking about games on December 28th, which I think we are, there's something.
All right, we'll get to that.
I got something too.
Goodness. Okay.
Have the sound ready, Scott.
One more on the 27th, 8 o'clock on Fox. It's the DirecTV Holiday Bowl from San Diego, California, Snapdragon Stadium. Is that what we're calling Qualcomm or whatever the hell?
What are these things?
Well, Qualcomm makes Snapdragon, so that kind of makes sense.
Okay. All right.
I mean,
I believe you. I don't know. What is Snapdragon again? What?
The chip processor.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right. All right, fair enough. It's the number 21 Syracuse Orange taking on the Washington State Cougars. Syracuse, a 16.5-point favorite in this game. Speaking of teams who I'm confident that their coach is going to be like absolutely dogging them to play through and play hard, that would be Syracuse. And Wazoo, as we'll get to here shortly, does not have a head coach, does not have a quarterback, does not have an offensive coordinator, does not have like half of their staff in place. This is a full-scale participation situation for Wazoo. I don't think that they give a single solitary damn about this game.
No.
And I think Syracuse is going to give an effort to just whoop them here, if I had to guess.
Yep. Washington State fans heard about the coaching change and they're dickert. Lay them.
What was
with
that?
The orange. Lay him with the orange. We're locking him up.
Oh!
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Please.
Yeah, lay him. Freaking
For
lay
the
him.
record, we're locking up a 3-score margin in a bowl game.
Lay him.
All right, fair enough.
Lay him.
I
Qualcomm
don't blame
Stadium. Qualcomm Stadium was torn down. This is San Diego State Stadium they built. They owned the site where Qualcomm stood. There we go. R.I.P.
Fair
Chargers.
enough.
I was close.
You were close. I agree.
For the
Anybody
record,
want to join me on the orange? Anybody? No.
I'm tempted. It's
I know when that hotline bling.
call the hotline.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Lock it up. Syracuse minus 16.5.
You better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you
I
lock
wasn't
it up.
ready.
Lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Please.
He wasn't ready.
They never are. All right. Yeah. Again, this is a participation situation for Wazoo in every situation and every way. So, yeah, I think Syracuse is going to come out and try to embarrass them, basically. So, I think they will.
Yep.
Good on
I
the
do too.
27th.
Good.
We move on. December the 28th, we got 4 more bowl games. This is going to be the last set that we preview. We'll come back here in a few days, I don't know, sometime later in the week, and we'll preview the final 3 bowl games that we have for the ACC. But for now, these 4 games on the 28th, we start at 11 o'clock on ESPN. It is the Wasabi Fenway Bowl from Fenway Park in Boston, Massachusetts. It's the North Carolina Tar Heels taking on the UConn Huskies. Mike, do you know what wasabi is in this context?
It is. I know it is not a sauce.
Right.
Isn't it like manufacturing or something? We investigated this last year, right?
I thought it was like a crypto situation of some sort.
Can't remember.
Yeah, we looked into it last year. It's not food. It's definitely some business.
It is. Hang on.
Semiconductor
Wasabi
processor.
Technologies. It's an
Yep.
object storage service provider based in Boston that sells cloud storage. All right, so not crypto, but like I was on the right track.
They're very similar to Qualcomm.
Yeah,
Very similar to Qualcomm. Yeah.
or like Snapdragon, as I'm told. But anyways,
Yeah, Qualcomm makes Snapdragon. Goddamn it!
North Carolina is a 3-point favorite here. Total's 53.5. Look, North Carolina, for all their flaws, is definitely 3 points better than UConn, except coaching change stuff. Boston 3 days after Christmas. What kind of effort are we getting from the Tar Heels here? I genuinely don't know. It might be pretty decent. It might be awful. And I have no clue.
Give me the Huskies.
Oh,
Jim Moore is doing a nice little job there.
yeah. They're not bad.
Is
No.
Belichick coach in the bowl game? He's familiar
No,
in Boston.
Freddie Kitchens.
Oh, so Mac is out.
Out. Yeah, out. The NC State game was his swan song. Yeah, he's out.
But
You
yeah,
guys
they,
remember when Freddie Kitchens coached the Browns? That was fun.
Unfortunately for Browns fans,
yeah.
they remember. I
Not
remember
a great
also.
story.
It was funny. Yes.
Yeah, this game is going to have a former NFL head coach on one of the sidelines, and it's not North Carolina. Actually, it's on both of them. Frankly,
Well, it's on
I guess
both
we're
of them.
talking
Yeah, I
about
was
that.
gonna say it's
Goodness. Yeah, sure. Why not? UConn. Who the hell knows? I feel like North Carolina might look. This is another one. Like as I mentioned with SMU in Happy Valley, like North Carolina feels like they're just going to look miserable playing in Fenway Park late in December. Like they are not. They're not here for this.
No. Also, like Mora should be garnering consideration for other coaching jobs, and it's not going to happen this cycle. But it's going to be, dude. He won 8 games at UConn, Joey.
Who were the 8 teams he beat?
Does not matter.
It matters a little bit.
It doesn't matter. This is like
Yeah, I'm locking
Signetti.
up UConn.
This is like Signetti winning. Great drop.
Scott nailed it.
This is like Signetti winning 11 at Indiana. It does not matter. You're not supposed to win 11 at Indiana, and you're not really supposed to win 8 at UConn outside of like that one Randy Edsel year. You're really not supposed to do that.
Were you impressed when UConn beat Merrimack?
Shut up.
What about FAU?
Okay.
What about Buffalo, Temple, Rice, Georgia State, UAB, UMass? I don't think that they beat a bowl-eligible team this year, Mike.
They did make things interesting against Syracuse. They did make things interesting against Wake Forest. They did make things interesting against Duke. Now, I have no comment for the 50-7 loss to dead man walking Mike Loxley at Maryland. I have no comment on that particular outcome. But the other ones,
What I'm hearing is that the ACC needs to invite UConn to join the conference because they're basically already there. Like they nearly beat Duke, Wake, and Syracuse. That was 3 losses by like 15 points or something like that.
15 points. Yep.
Pretty impressive.
It is.
For
Jim
UConn.
Mora for a better job than UConn.
Yeah.
Put him in the American.
Yeah, they might beat North Carolina here, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He can take he can take the Tulane job when Summerall leaves next year.
You could.
You know? Something like that. Like a pretty good upgrade. Maybe not like full on P4, but like give him a good G5 opportunity.
As somebody who watched Atlanta Falcons head coach Jim Mora Jr. for several years,
You're
don't get
partial.
your expectations too high.
That's
get them
fair.
too high.
Yeah, I forgot you're speaking from a place of hurt.
Personal experience, right?
Yes. Okay, that's fair.
UConn plus the 3 for the both of us. Total 53.5 pass, maybe under. I don't know. Might be cold.
Don't care.
Yeah. Noon on ABC. It's the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl. Speaking of teams who do want the smoke in the cold, Boston College taking on Nebraska. This is at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. Nebraska's a 2.5-point favorite. Give me Boston College. I think Boston College wins this game on the field.
Give me the Eagles outright.
Yeah. Nebraska. Oh.
You found it. Under 45.5.
Under. Under's in the 40s. Let's go.
I could see it.
Yeah. Oh, completely.
Yeah.
It's a bowl game. Anything could happen.
It could. And again,
that's a good pick, Scott.
I don't mind it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
I think I lean towards Boston College here more than the under. But I like where your head's at.
Yeah.
This is 2 teams that from places that I don't think that they're going to have any issue playing in the cold. So
Right.
they will be just fine dealing with the elements here. And again, both of these are kind of more run-heavy situations on offense. So even just from like a pure strategic situation dealing with the elements, I think they'll be just fine. But
Yeah.
this one, if both teams are giving full effort, I do think that Bill O'Brien is going to have Boston College up playing this game, like working at it. If Nebraska meets them, this could be a really fun game. If not, this could be a romp. But again, I think it makes sense that this is a small spread kind of situation because easily could be a pick 'em in my mind.
Yeah, definitely.
So
yeah. I mean, I like BC, and I think the under game too probably favors Boston College. I think that if this gets into a shootout, I don't know if the Dylan Raiola passing experience is something you want to try to contend with for 4 quarters and then overtime potentially. Like,
Yep.
higher scoring, don't love it for BC.
Yep.
I think the game script is under game for sure.
That's right. Rangers King notes that Nebraska is without their DC. Do you know where Nebraska's DC is going?
Nebraska's DC
Would be going to Tallahassee, Mike, as I believe.
That's right. That's right.
Mike Norvell has hired Tony Gibson to be their new defensive coordinator for the
That's
Seminoles. So we'll be seeing a lot of him next year. But yeah, won't be seeing any of him in this game on December the 28th.
Yep.
There you go. All right, Boston College for the both of us and the under. Producer pick of the week, under 45.5.
Under. Solidarity with
go.
Scott.
We keep it moving. Still on ABC, 3:30 p.m. It is the Pop-Tarts Bowl featuring the number 18 Iowa State Cyclones taking on the number 13 Miami Hurricanes. This is at Camping World Stadium in Orlando, Florida. Miami is a 3-point favorite. Totals 55.5. I feel like this is like alt line, money line situation of either Miami's either going to win this game by 10 or more, or Iowa State's going to win this game by 7 or more. Like, I just don't see a close game here. It's going to be a blowout one way or the other, and I don't know which way.
I didn't correct you in the moment, but yeah, Tony Gibson is going from NC State to Marshall. It's Tony White.
Damn it, wrong
from...
Tony. Other Tony
Name that
defensive
Tony.
coordinator. Yeah,
Name that.
they're both
Tony.
defensive coordinators. Like
They are.
So, anyways,
They are. They're both named Tony, which is not a very common name. I
Yeah,
like.
you're
I like
spot
my-
on. You're completely right. That's on me.
I like Miami either. To your point, it's either Miami by a lot or Iowa State money line. So stay off it.
Yeah.
Stay off it. But yeah,
Trophy's cool. Trophy's a functional toaster.
the trophy is cool.
I love a bowl committee steering into it. Like, and that's exactly what's happening here, right?
Yep.
Is this only year 2 of the Pop-Tarts Bowl? It used to be the Cheez-It Bowl or
Yeah, it was
Well-
Cheez-It, and then before that it was Camping World.
Yeah, I just appreciate the fact that Camping World was like, you know what, we'll just sponsor the stadium and we're good. Like, we're good on the bowl game. You guys can have the bowl game. Cheese it.
yeah.
Pop-Tarts and
Well, and
whatever
so
snack is next. Fruit
this
gushers.
is a bowl game that like their committee steers into it, right? Like you had when it was the Cheez-It Bowl, they had a bunch of just like Cheez-It cutouts in the end zone behind the field goal posts and stuff. Like they're having fun with it. And then they make it the Pop-Tart Bowl. Last year they had the edible trophy situation that happened.
Edible
This
mascot.
year-
the what?
Edible mascot.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, is that what it was? Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean,
And now this year the trophy itself
Don't
is a
take those.
toaster.
don't take those at Northrop, Scott. You know?
Whoa, don't be. Damn it, Mike. All right.
Getting doxxed over here. Yeah, good stuff. A trophy doubling as a toaster. I love it. So we'll see what shenanigans happen after this game. And I lean Miami.
I don't think they'll do this, but if they really want to make money, they should sell a set of them, replicas.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Functional toasters
Mhm.
to the winning
Mhm.
team or to the winning school or
Yeah.
whoever.
Yeah.
Or just give them out as like the bowl handouts. You know how
There
they
you
get
go.
like whatever you want. Basically, you go to these bowl games and
Toaster.
like pre NIL, you could just like get the giveaways and like they look the other way on like the the amateurism. Oh, you're getting gifts. It didn't count for bowl games. Now it's like these guys make $2 million a year, so it just really doesn't matter. But you get like bowl giveaways, so maybe you loop those in. But yeah.
One more note here, and I want to kind of follow up on the last thing that I said was I think I lean Miami. Historically, Miami in a bowl game is a horrendous proposition. Like
Yeah, who's
I think
playing?
they're what's that?
Who's playing? Are there team? Is there guys playing?
I don't think I've heard of much of
I've
any
heard
like
of Cam Ward opt out yet. Have we heard anything on that?
I don't think I've seen anything about it. Like,
Yeah.
as far as I know, I think he's playing. But bigger point again, I want to say there's some number that they're like 2-15 in their last 17 bowl games or something. Like Miami does not show up to bowl games at all. So
Cam Ward's playing in the Pop-Tarts Bowl apparently. So
hell yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
That honestly, that might just be enough for Miami. Like, he'll make it happen by himself. So,
you know what?
Joey.
Good for that guy. You know.
Yeah.
playing.
Good for him. I agree.
He's going to be like a
100%.
top 5 pick in the draft. So good for him.
Yeah.
Yes, Rangers King. I do remember when this was the Russell Athletic Bowl. That's a throwback. Oh my god. Joey,
Wait,
do you have
didn't
40?
go to a Russell Athletic Bowl, or was that a Gator Bowl that I heard about?
I've been to a Gator Bowl. I've not been to a Orlando-based bowl game before. Next time will be my first time. Joey, do you have $41?
I could probably come up with that pretty quickly.
Okay, that's still $1 short of what you would need to go to this game. So
That ain't bad. I mean,
no,
it probably helps Orlando being like maybe 2.5, 3 hours from Miami. Like, really not that far. That's drivable. Same as like Birmingham from Atlanta, right? Like,
we could probably get into every non-playoff ACC bowl game for like less than $300 total.
Wait,
yeah.
what? Hold on.
We can get to every non-playoff ACC bowl game for less than $300 total.
Let's see. These December 27th and 28th games.
No, I don't think so. I think it's
Maybe not. There's some expensive one. The Mayo
65,
Bowl,
52,
geez, Scott,
36, 57, 42, 34.
less than $500. Less than
There you go.
$500, we'll say.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Wait, where is the Mayo Bowl? Oh, that's way on December or January 3rd.
We'll be there.
Goodness.
Scott and I will be there.
Hey, there you
Later,
go.
But we'll be there. Yeah,
Boots on the ground. Let's go.
that's right.
All right.
Years.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Going to the bowl game. All right, Miami, I think for the both of us, but very, very tentatively, because like, don't bet Miami in bowl games ever.
Yeah. Don't bet any non-playoff bowl games unless it's Syracuse money line or 16.5, whatever it was.
I know when that hotline bling.
Don't bet them before kickoff. Bet them,
Right.
bet them live.
Right.
Feel free.
Right.
Finally, on the 28th, 5:45 on ESPN, the Go Bowling Military Bowl from Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium
5:45.
in Annapolis, Maryland.
That's
Yeah,
late.
It's gonna be pitch black.
That's a
at
late one.
5:45 p.m.
Scott, what was kickoff last year? Was not 5:45. This was like
I
a
think it was 3:30 or something.
yeah.
I thought it was like a noon game or something.
It was
I have
not
to check
5:45.
When the
Jeez.
Hokies played
It definitely
Tulane.
wasn't because it was raining. It was definitely like noon, I think.
Yeah, it was earlier than 5:40. It was like
But it was
between
dark when
noon
we
and
left.
3.
So I'm going with 3:30.
I think I
Finally,
went to
so-
a movie that day and like a lunchtime situation came out and the Virginia Tech Tulane game was on the TV at 3:00 Central or whatever it was in the fourth quarter. So I don't know. Anyways, NC State taking on East Carolina. NC State's a 6-point favorite. Total's 58.5. Look, I don't want to slander NC State here,
Give me the Pirates.
but it sure seems like East Carolina's entire existence is largely based on trying to ruin NC State's day. It like any chance that East Carolina gets, it sure seems like they love an opportunity to make NC State a little bit miserable. So
Yeah.
between all of the turmoil with the roster and such
2
right
p.m.
now,
last year. 2 p.m.
there you
2
go.
p.m. Yeah.
Yeah, give me the Pirates.
Pirates.
+6, probably outright if I'm picking it pregame. Could be a fun game. Could easily see NC State just squashing them here, winning by 2 scores. But
Mm-hmm.
if I'm just guessing on who's more fired up to play the other one in this particular spot, give me East Carolina.
Yeah. Give me East Carolina. I'm with you. We're agreeing on a lot of these because it's just a vibes check.
Yeah. Always make sure to pick the Pirates playing at the Naval Academy's stadium,
Right.
for what that's worth.
That's correct. That's correct.
That's the analysis that people come to the podcast for.
Yes. Yep.
That's all I got on the this batch of bowl games. We've got 3 more we'll come back and preview in the future. But for now, I think that's all I got, fellas.
Now we're good. We are an hour and 10 in,
Mm-hmm.
and there's just a couple of newsy items we want to mention.
Yep.
We have to clean up this one very, very quickly first. On the last podcast, we were aware of this transfer, and it's a consequential one, and we totally forgot to mention it because we had a lot to cover.
Mm-hmm.
Chandler Morris is transferring from North Texas to UVA, and there may not be a bigger upgrade at a key position this entire offseason than the one we're seeing now in Charlottesville.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, this is
Huge
high
win for UVA.
high touchdown rate, low interception, throws for 1,000,000 yards, high completion percentage, experienced, good football IQ, very good college quarterback. This is a huge, huge, huge upgrade for UVA quarterback. Gigantic upgrade.
Yeah. I mean, it is a step up playing in the ACC versus playing in the AAC. And as has been noted elsewhere this season, the AAC ain't got no D. And so, you know, gonna see
There it is.
gonna see some defenses in the ACC that you hadn't seen in prior years. But that's a pretty good pedigree that Virginia's bringing in. So
It is.
you know, better pedigree than both Tony Muskett and Anthony Calandria going out. So as much as, I mean, we've enjoyed Anthony Calandria and he's fun to watch and he's a high upside kind of guy, but he's also clearly got a lot of rough moments in there. That's a win for UVA, I think, bringing in Chandler Morris and we'll see what that turns into in the fall.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Second point, we mentioned this in passing. Jake Dickert going from Washington State to Wake Forest to replace Dave Clawson, who stepped down since the last time we recorded. The stepping down portion is not a surprise. If you guys have listened to this freaking podcast basically the entire season, we told you this was going to happen. We told you. We told you.
Yep.
So, considering when the resignation announcement was versus when they hired Dickert less than 24 hours later, it's pretty safe to say that Clawson probably told Wake Forest in like the month of November that he was stepping down, because this coaching search was a wrap by the time the announcement came out that Clawson was stepping down and they were like formally doing the press conference. This thing was a wrap. I mean, less than 24 hours later, Dickert was announced as the new head coach.
I was going to say, I think our guy Connor put out a story that was basically like, here was the timeline. Clawson handed in a letter or something that had his resignation like Monday afternoon, evening. Tuesday, they had the press conference. By the time we were going to bed on Wednesday, I think we were seeing reports that like Dickert was the guy. And on Thursday by lunchtime, they were introducing him. Like,
yeah,
that's, and you know, Dickert, like, he managed that situation. Like he kind of inherited a mess at Washington State when, I mean, Nick Rolovich had his whole situation that he was fired for. And, you know, your mileage may vary on why he was fired, but the point was that was a messy situation. Dickert picked up the pieces, ran with it, and might have made them better, honestly, like looked pretty good. And so between that and between, you know, this Wake search being as quick, as buttoned up, as neat, and like I don't know that I've ever seen a coaching search that was more just quick, efficient, decided, you know, pointed as this one was. I mean, this is almost impossibly clean the way that Wake ran this search, and credit to John Curry for that. You know, Wake, as we've discussed, tough job, but sure feels like everyone's pulling the rope in the same direction here right now. And that's a good sign, I think, if nothing else.
Yeah. I like the hire a lot. Like, I know Dickert isn't an East Coast guy, but he is a guy who knows how to coach players and is aware of the issues that arise when you have players plucked from your roster. It's something he dealt with at Washington State. He inherited a tough situation from Rolovich. He went 3-3 as the interim and made a bowl game. And then he made a bowl game in 2 of his next 3 years as the head guy, including going 8-4 this year at Washington State, taking him to the Holiday Bowl, which obviously he won't be coaching because he's at Wake Forest now. Yeah, a really good hire. Like doing more with less, understanding the challenges of dealing with roster management when your players are constantly plucked in the portal. I have to imagine the NIL situation at Wake Forest is probably better than it is at Washington State, which is probably one of the few schools in power conference football. I'm not going to call it, the Pac-2 or the newly formed Pac-12 power conference football, but it was a year ago. So, Wake, I think, is one of those programs that is obviously struggling on the NIL front a bit, but I think is probably in a better situation right this second than Washington State's in, given where they're at. He's obviously getting a pay raise or he wouldn't take the job. Power conference, all that stuff. I think he'll do a pretty good job at Wake Forest. I think it's a good hire on paper anyway, and we'll see. Not coaching on the East Coast at all is something, right? Something to monitor. But I also think in terms of roster management and having dealt with these kind of issues that are facing Wake Forest, inherently taking that job, he kind of knows what he's walking into because it's not really too much different from what he's dealt with at Washington State the last few years. I think that makes it a good hire. You have a guy who's proven he can kind of take the program through that kind of turmoil. So you're going to get that at Wake Forest unless they really up the NIL ante, which I don't see anytime soon. So this seems like a stepping stone for Dickert. But if he goes in there and he starts winning 6, 7, 8 games, you can either become Clawson if you want to, or you can take this into a bigger role somewhere else. So I don't know what his motivations are. He's pretty young, so I'd assume that he wants to show he can do it at Washington State, then show he can do it at Wake, and then maybe get a swing somewhere with more resources is what I would guess. I think he's 41 years old. He's pretty young. He's
41. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's going to have that opportunity if he can show over the course of 3 years he can take this Wake Forest program to a bowl game. And, Clawson's not leaving the cupboard bare. I mean, he's dealt with issues with his roster the last couple of years, but they've been well coached. They're going to continue to be well coached. And, Clawson's leaving the program in a fine spot. I mean, this is not really any fault of his own, in my opinion. So
it helps me to seeing, again, he's been at Wazoo since 2020. Before that, he was at Wyoming. Before that, South Dakota State, North Dakota State, North Dakota. He has been around a number of well put together programs. You've seen up close and personal how these successful programs operate, and I think that's a positive for me. It does, that's the biggest complaint that I would probably have, or the biggest criticism I would have, is this is a guy who has not coached east of the Mississippi in at least 10 years, and really the only time that it's gone anywhere close, he was coaching at Minnesota State and was coaching at Wisconsin Stevens Point, where he played. And otherwise, it's been entirely again, Dakotas and Wyoming and Montana, this upper northwest part of the country kind of thing. Now you're going into North Carolina. He did have a funny note, I think, in his opening press conference where he mentioned something where we were, we weren't really recruiting against all these teams from Virginia and Tennessee and North Carolina, South Carolina, all that. And somebody mentioned, he's like, yeah, but there are 5 FBS teams in the Pacific Northwest. 3 of them have been in the playoff in the last 2 years, or whatever it is, with Oregon, Washington, and Boise State. But so it's going to be a bit of a different proposition here. But again, he's got a reasonably good track record so far, and we'll see how it works. But I can't blame Wake for making this hire. And again, it looked like it was a really clean, clear process that got him here.
He's going to have access to talent in just geographically they just simply didn't have at Washington State. So I mean, I think that makes a difference too. Being able to coach in the Carolinas, a talent-rich state, and you're not going to get the 4 and 5 star guys, but you can get a bunch of 3 stars that Belichick passes on. Maybe you win a couple of those recruiting battles against him and NC State.
Why do I feel like Belichick hadn't seen a 3-star he doesn't think can be a first-round pick? Like,
That's right up his alley, isn't it? Isn't that right up his alley?
sure seems that way, right?
The Julian Edelman mold,
Yeah.
Give me a guy converted quarterback.
That's
I'm
right.
going to play wide receiver here.
Belichick has never seen one that he doesn't love.
No, he's been on the hunt for prospects the last couple of years.
Yeah. And the hunt continues. Mike, anything else? I think I'm good here.
Just widen the talent pool. Yeah, I'm good.
Scott, you good? You good to go watch some games and come back and I don't know, recap them, preview some more?
Sure.
Nice.
Sounds great.
Resounding. We have 3 games left.
We do. Yeah, we've previewed. I couldn't even pretend to try to count how many games we've previewed so far this season, but we have 3 left that we'll preview on our next episode. We've got, again, a bunch of bowl games to go watch. We've got some season post-mortem kind of situations we still got to do. Keep it tuned here. We got a lot of content coming your way, even though we get into the off season here. But again, we're going to get out of here. We're going to go watch some games. Keep it tuned here. In the meantime, we are on Twitter at FTRSJoey, at Mike McDaniel SI, at Severus_Snipes, at BC Podcast ACC. Come find us on Spotify, on Google YouTube
Nope,
Music.
YouTube Music.
That
There you
one.
go.
Amazon Music.
Yep.
That one.
Yep.
iTunes. What?
Yep.
Or
Apple Music, whatever.
Apple. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, wherever you find your podcasts, go find us there. YouTube.com/@the ACC Football Podcast. Most importantly, please, if you have not already, please hit the subscribe button. That would help us so much. That would be my favorite Christmas present of the year. If you hit that button, we'd appreciate that. Mike, where else on the social medias?
Facebook.com/basketball conference rate review. Find most of our podcasts there. Also, YouTube. Please subscribe.
Please. Basketball Conference Podcast @gmail.com is the email address. You got questions for the people we're going to talk to in the season post-mortem situations? I mean, send us there. Whatever you got. We'd appreciate that.
Next podcast, recapping the bowl games we just previewed, previewing the final 3. We'll have a recap of those. After that, season recaps. All through January.
Lots to come.
Yep. Stick with us.
Please
Off-season
do.
content. We've been telling you. Off-season, we're bringing it. Guarantee. Scott will make us.
It only took 9 years, but now we're doing it.
We're doing it. The YouTube is popped. We have to do it.
That's right. Mike, Scott, anything else?
Yeah. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy holiday if you don't celebrate any of those.
Happy Festivus.
Yeah, for the rest of us. Thanks, everybody. It's been a great year of growth. And if we don't talk to you again before, we'll probably talk to you again before the new year. But
We
Yeah.
will.
enjoy your holiday.
We have to.
Bowl games.
There's a New Year's Eve bowl game. We got to do it before then. So
All
those
right.
are the rules.
Then I'll
Those
save
are
the
the
end
rules.
of year resolutions for them.
Yep.
There you go.
ACC
Yeah.
resolutions. We got to come up with some.
Better
no
refs.
shortage of those.
Yeah, no shortage of those is right.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to all. Happy holidays, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Festivus. Whatever your celebration of choice is. We really appreciate your support this year. It has been a real treat, a real a pleasure and a privilege. So thank you all so much for all that you have done for us and sharing us with your friends and all the things that you've done. So thank you. Hope you have a great holiday. Hope you have safe travels for anyone who is traveling. And we look forward to continuing this on into 2025.
Yep.
All right. Well, until then, for Mr. Mike McDaniel, for Mr. Producer Scott, I am Joey Weaver. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll talk to you again very, very soon. Enjoy the games. Until next time, go ACC.